So good morning everyone, and let's continue our Spark. So today we'll talk about installing IntelliJ in Windows and running our first Spark program. Okay. Now, if you are using some notebook like Jupyter Notebook, okay, or some other IDE, and if you want to become a data engineer, I would say throw away such tools. Because if you want to become a data engineer, if you are interested to work on large scale industry, then let me be very honest, we don't use Jupyter at all. Okay, in my entire career I have not used anything like Jupyter, anything like Visual Studio, because we have one man army with us, that is IntelliJ. IntelliJ is the only winner. IntelliJ is the only winner in terms of data engineering IDE. Okay, and this tool is also widely used when you are a Java developer, you are building your Spring applications and all. Way back, we used to have something called Eclipse, which was very popular. Okay, which was very popular. But now all the major development happens in IntelliJ. I will not say that Eclipse are not used at all. They are also used, but when you start understanding the power of IntelliJ, you'll start loving IntelliJ more than any other ID. So the first thing is, let us follow with the instruction and let us try to explore IntelliJ, and let us keep a using IntelliJ in all our going topics. Okay, so we will use IntelliJ for every development moving forward. Now let us move to our Windows, and without wasting time, let me show you how to install IntelliJ and write our first application. All right, so we are in our Windows machine. Okay, and now let us do this. We'll say IntelliJ download. Now it will take you to a website owned by JetBrains. Okay, IntelliJ is one such product of JetBrains. Click on it. Now, based on your browser, it understands whether you are on Windows or Mac or Linux. Okay, so this is your ultimate edition, which means you have to pay for this, but no worries. We'll go a little down, just one step down, and there is also a community edition, right? There is also a community edition, which is an ID for Java and Kotlin, okay, which also supports Scala. So you will just download this, download the exe version for Windows. Okay, since we are in Windows, we will download the exe version for Windows. So just say download. It will now take you to the next page, and the download would start instantly. Okay, now once the download is complete, you can find that download in your downloads folder. So just go to my computer, go to the downloads, and you would see the IntelliJ is downloaded. Okay, so IntelliJ is downloaded 2024 3.1.1. So double click on it and let us start installing this. Say yes, next, next, install. Okay, so we'll also follow our documentation. Number one, download IntelliJ Community Edition, right? So you'll go to the official website and you look for IntelliJ Community Edition and just click on download. Okay, once this is done, the next thing that you should be doing is install Scala and SBT support. Okay, so install Scala SBT support in IntelliJ. So let us wait till the download is complete. Now your setup is ready. Okay, so I can say run, or you can just ignore that as well. Okay, so let me say run so that it gets launched. All right, now the first thing that you would get is this screen. Okay, this is the first screen that you will get when you start your IntelliJ for the first time. Now in this, if you see, there are projects, customized plugins and all. So let's go back to our notes. Install Scala SBT support in IntelliJ. So how would you do that? After your first step, you get this screen, right? Now go to your plugins, and here you just say, I want Scala support. Scala, say install, and click on this install. So it is getting installed. Okay, and now at the same time, let me just say SBT executor. Just say install and say accept. It is also getting installed. Okay, now if you see, you got a restart ID option here. Let me go back and check my Scala again. Scala, it is saying installed. Okay, which means your Scala is installed successfully. That is the first thing you should do. So it's saying IntelliJ ID needs to be restarted. Do you want to start? I can say not now. For now, it's okay. Next, you can go to your customize, and if you want to change your font size, you can also increase your font size to something. Okay, and most importantly, change this key map. This key map is basically the shortcut. Okay, since I'm coming from Eclipse background, what I want to do is I want to make sure all the shortcuts that I have been using in my Eclipse should work as it is in IntelliJ. So for that you will use this key map. Okay, key map change to Eclipse. So let me change my font to little smaller, at least maybe 16 should be fine. Okay, and I'm done. Right, so let me check it out here. Install Scala SBT support in IntelliJ. So you'll go to plugins. Okay, and then I would say set Eclipse shortcut in it. So for that you'll go to customize. So customize and you'll say key map. Key map. Okay, change to Eclipse. How would you do that? You'll go to customize and you'll change this key map from here. Right, now once this is done, you should actually restart once, right? Because that's pending. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll close this. So the settings are saved. Now let's talk about how to create the first working example in our IntelliJ. Okay, so once you've installed IntelliJ in Windows, launch your IntelliJ and then you create a new Scala SBT project. Let us see that as well. Now once you are in your IntelliJ, okay, so just click here and you can just say new project. Now you have Java, Kotlin, Groovy and all. Go to Scala and here you can give a name to your project. I would say Spark word count example. You can give any name. Okay, and now choose your JDK versions accordingly. So let us see what we have. So since we have installed Spark 3.5.3, which is very much compatible with 17.0.12 and Scala version 2.12.18, so we can use the same. Okay, so Scala version 2.12.18, right? So let's choose that, and JDK 17. You may say, what will happen if I choose 3, Scala 3? Things might work, okay, but there is no guarantee that every concept would work. So you can just try it out at your own risk, but most of the time it should work. Okay, now let me say create. I want to open that in this window. So let's wait for the project to be created. So the project is created, and if you're doing it for the first time, it may take a little time to create this project. Okay, now let us go back to the next step. The project was created successfully. Now change your font size if you wish to. So if you remember, we had added Scala and SBT plugin, right? So if you have not added those plugins in those steps, then you could do it from here also. Check it out. So when you click on this, it gives you file option, right? And you can go to this settings, and this will eventually give you access to plugin where you can install your Scala, SBT or whatever, and eventually it will also get you access to key map. If you remember, we had set our key map to Eclipse, so you can do all these things here. Now if you want to change the font, you can just go to file from here. I'll show you from here. File, go to settings, then you go to editor and go to font, right, and change it to whatever you wish to. So let me change it to 22, and if you see, the text size would be increased when I say apply. Just let's realize that. See, the text size has been increased. Okay, so choose according to what works best for your eyes. So let's go to the next. Now we need to add the dependencies in build.sbt. Okay, so we are trying to create what? We're trying to create a Scala based Spark project, right? So we need to update few things in our build.sbt. So your build.sbt will look like below. Please use the same version as shown in the steps. So we will pick up Spark 3.5.3, right? So let us go to Spark. Now go to Maven repository. Okay, so just say Maven repository. You don't have to write all these things. Just launch your maven repository.com, and here you search for Spark. and go to Spark Core, and you can pick up whatever version looks appealing. So if you see Spark 4, the early version, the preview version is also out in the market, but it's okay to just go and fall back on whatever you wish to work with. While we started the course, we had 3.5.3, but if you see, we have got another version, Spark 3.5.4 in December 20th, right? Which means just 4 days ago. So you can definitely go and pick this also. Okay, so let us try to pick this up. So just click on this. See here, you have an area here wherein you can see this is for your SBT. This is for your SBT. If you're doing a Maven based project, you'll copy this. If you're doing a SBT based project, you'll copy this. Okay. Since our is Scala SBT project, we will use this. Now let's copy this and we'll have it here. Done. Okay, this is how you will add your dependencies. Next, let's go back to the notes and let's see if we need any other dependencies. We are also going to use commons IO. Hence, I would like to pick this also in the dependencies list. So let me go a little up and say commons IO and search. And you see there is a commons IO and the latest version is 2.18.0. So copy this and then you just go back here and just say paste. So you are trying to add two dependencies here. Okay, one is Apache Spark core module and the other one is commons IO. Now let's delete this. Okay, so you can press Ctrl D. You can press Ctrl D to delete this unnecessary comments because we don't need that comment. And once you are done, you will see there is a small icon here, load SBT changes. Okay, sync SBT changes, which means whatever I've added in my SBT, that should be updated now. Okay, so if I click on it, then all the dependencies will start building. Before I do that, let me show you the external library. And if you see, there is nothing in our external library. We have Java 17, we have SBT, that's it, right? Now let me say sync SBT changes. So whatever two dependencies we have added, those two dependencies will also be synced in our project, and because of which you'll start seeing a lot of dependencies here. So let's wait for that. So once that SBT changes are all done, you just go back to this external libraries and you'll see a lot of dependencies have come all together, right? And here you will see your Spark libraries are also available here. You have Hadoop also coming up, you have Commons logging coming up, you have Spark also coming up. So all the dependencies that are required when we run a Spark job is all added by default. Okay, so that's what this two line would do for you. Okay, done. Next, the next thing is to write a code, right? So to write a code, we'll go to source main Scala. Let's follow the document step by step. This is done. The next thing is we'll start creating our first program, the word count example. So go to your project, source main Scala, and create a new Scala class. So you'll go to source main Scala, right click and say new and say Scala class or file, right? Now here you can give any name. So I would say word count example. You can give any name. Okay, and what kind of file it is? It is a file of object type. Okay, so you'll choose object here. What is object? It is a concept of your Scala programming, right? So object is basically a class kind of template wherein you can have your main method, right? And that main method would be treated as public static void main because JVM looks for public static void main. So now let's introduce our main function. Write main and wait for some time. And if you see, you got a template to generate, and this generates the main method automatically. Done. Now let us start understanding all this piece of code one by one. Okay, so let me first copy two lines and I'll say, well, configuration equal to new Spark configuration dot set master local dot set application name equal to my application. Now if you see, I'm creating the object of Spark configuration. It will ask me to import this. Let us import. Done. Now let me also import my Spark context. Done. Okay, now if you remember, while working with command prompt, right, the moment Spark cell, we used to get one object called sc, right? And we had written sc dot text file, and I have already told you that sc is basically an object that by default is given to you when you write your code, right? In that case your sc will not come up automatically. No, you have to create the sc object, and to create the sc object the syntax is well sc equal to new spark context. Okay, and it accepts one parameter, okay, one object, which is basically conf. And what is this conf? Let's see what is this conf. Let's see this, what exactly it is returning you back, or you can just keep a cursor. Okay, now if you see, spark context is a class which takes a parameter of spark configuration type. Okay, and that is what is been built here. So you need a spark configuration object wherein all your configuration would be added. Okay, we will talk about what is this set master equal to local and what are the other configurations that you can add as we move on in the course. But right now just understand that this is what you are supposed to write to execute a very first word count example. Okay, so set master local means run this spark in the local mode. Okay, set application name my app, this is anything, this can be anything, this is your application name. When you run your job in the larger cluster where you have 200 different jobs up and running, then at that time you can actually use this to identify that your job is actually running. Okay, so this is the importance of set application name. You can give any name. For example, if I say I'm processing, let's say, Google Maps data, then I would say Google Maps app, something like this. Okay, you can give any name, does not matter. Okay, now once you got this sc, so in the previous example when we were using command prompt, we have clearly seen that the object name is sc, but you can rename it here. You cannot rename it there, but you can rename it here. Okay, you can say sc1, you can say my spark context, you can give any name, but by convention let us say sc. Okay, let us say sc because it looks very similar and it looks very familiar, right? So these two would make sure that your sc object is ready. Now if you don't do this, then you will not be able to create the rdd, because to create the rdd from any data source you need what sc, is not it? So that part is done. Next, now let us try to create an rdd. sc.text file, input file. What is this input file? You have to pass the path. Okay, so let me write input file and output file location. I'll keep it here. Well, input file equal to d drive dataset word1.txt. Well, output file equal to d drive dataset output.txt. So go and check if you have those files available or not. So just launch your terminal, go to your d drive. Okay, to dataset. Dir. Now in this dir, if you see, you have word1.txt, right? So this is the file I'm talking about, which means I have file available. Okay, if you want to go and check the content, go ahead and the content from here. Click on this, go to your D drive, go to your data set, right? And you have word1.txt. Open this and see the content. You have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines of data all together. Okay, in the, let me also delete this. This is done. All right, now let's go back. Now if you see this example, I have just written of rdd of string type. This part is optional, you can ignore. You can directly write like this, and Scala by default will be able to inject, is not it? That's the Scala programming. So you can say well input rdd equal to sc.text file of input file. Now when you say text file, what does it return, guys? Which kind of object it returns? So your text file is a method, right? And which takes a parameter, which is basically a pointer to a file, a string variables here. This is a string variable, and it returns you back a rdd. How do you know that? Just confirm it from here. Keep your cursor here and see what it is returning you back. See here. See, it's returning you rdd of string, right? So it returns you rdd of string. Now, since it returns you RDD of string, you can also catch it here, RDD of string type. Okay, and let's import this as well. Now you may ask me, hey, I can still not mention this and still my program would work, right? Of course, yes. But I would suggest you, when you are learning in the initial days, always try to also provide the type. Why? Because you should be very much clear what it is going to return you, right? Compiler knows, but you should know what every line does, and that will help you to learn Spark in much more detailed order. Okay, so we have got this sc.text file and we got an RDD of string. Done, right? Now let's go back and this part is done. Now once this is done, you may be interested to see how many lines are there all together, right? So you can say println total lines plus and input rdd dot count. Okay, count would actually give you the total number of lines present here. Okay, so this will print you the total number of lines. If you see my code, I've used a string interpolation technique, right? You can use this string interpolation technique, or I can just directly say plus input rdd dot count. That will also work, is not it? Now let's also do something sc dot. When you do this sc dot, you'll see there are so many methods here, right? Check it out, there are so many methods that you can use, and we'll be using a lot of such method in the coming days. Okay, so you can also say sc dot stop if you want to stop your program. Okay, but right now let it be like this. Let us try to run our code and let us see what it gives you. Okay, so I'll just say right click and say run word count example. In the meanwhile, there's a question how to retain Spark context, how to close it manually. It is basically sc closes as program finishes. That's what it is supposed to do. You are not supposed to retain a Spark context at any cost. If your program is done, you should actually destroy your sc somehow. Okay, you should not be retaining it at any cost. Why? Because if you retain that, then it will reserve a lot of resources, which is what you don't want. Okay, so it says build completed successfully in 1 minute 18 seconds. First time it takes little time, and this should be super fast in your machine because I'm using virtual machine. That could also be a reason. Okay, so let's wait. All right, so I think we got into an error, and what is that error? Let us see this. The error says access error. Storage utils unnamed module cannot access direct buffer, this and that, because module java.base does not support sun.io.cs to unnamed something. Okay, so we have seen this error coming recently. Okay, we have seen this error coming recently. So to solve this problem, what you are supposed to do is add these 4 lines into your configurations. Where to add? I'll show you this. Right click on your Java class. Let me right click here. Right click on your Java class, say more run or debug, and choose this modify run configuration. It opens a dialog. Okay, now here in this modify option, you just say add the virtual machine, add VM option. Okay, now in this add VM option, you got this VM option here. Okay, now paste your configuration here and say apply. Okay, once you paste it, just verify this. Okay, you need to add all these 4 options, otherwise what will happen, one would succeed and again it will throw you some other error. Again you will add one, again it will throw you one more error, again you will add one, you'll have to add one more again. Okay, so add all these 4 and you will not have any problem. So let's just apply and close, and let's try to run this code again. So they are basically internally some platform related issues, some compatibility issues, and all these things together, because the Java guys, they keep releasing their version, the Scala guys keep releasing their versions, Spark guys, they keep releasing their versions. Okay, and one or other thing might go wrong. If that happens, then this is what you can actually do. So when you try to run it again, it should not be a problem, and that should run absolutely fine. Okay, Now if you see, the program finished code of 0, right? And look into this, the total line is 6. That is what we got here. Okay, that is the output of line number 14. Total lines is equal to 6. Now if after adding this, if you get some other error, look into the error. For example, I'll teach you how to look that. Okay, see here, it says because java.base does not support sun.nio.ch, sun.nio.ch, and hence I added this. See here. Okay, again, if you get something like illegal argument exception, unable to create something for class java.nio, then I have added this one. Okay, so even if after adding this 4, if you get some other error, okay, look into the package, what is the package it is talking about, and then you can add something like this. Okay, I have kept it here open so that if at all you get some other problem, then you can actually add this. You don't have to include all these things. Only thing that you need to include is this 4. And if any extra things comes, if any extra error comes, look into the package and include that. Include that line in your configuration. How do you include this? You just copy this, okay, and you just say right click, more, let me click it here, modify run configuration, right, and here go till the end. Okay, or you can add it in the beginning also. Make sure that you give a space, then only you paste, right? Otherwise without space it will become one word and would not work, right? Make sure that you give a space and paste and say apply and okay, and then rerun your program again. Okay, this is what you are supposed to do. Anyways, let's move to the continuation of our program. So we have done till here. Okay, now if you want to collect the data, you can always say input rdd.collect, which will bring all the data to your driver code, right? We know that collect always gives you an array, so we're catching it in an array of string, and then we are saying let me print the content, and content array.for is .println. So I can copy this piece of line and let me paste it here, and let's run this code again. Okay, now once we have this data, the next thing that we would like to do is use a flat map, okay, and convert that into one liners. So let's do that. So I'll copy these 3 lines, let the output come in the meanwhile we'll complete our next set of coding. Okay, so let us try it out. So we know that right now we have input RDD, and what is your input RDD? Input RDD is like RDD of, you have apple ball, okay, you have apple, you have ball, apple, something like this. Okay, you can say RDD is just like your array for your simplicity. Now what we want to do, we want to process each line. This is like line 1, line 2, line 3. So your code would become like this: input RDD dot map. Okay, map means for every line. So how many lines you have here? If I take this example, then how many lines? I want you to answer. If I assume that my RDD contains this data only, then how many lines it is? It is 3 lines. Okay, so line will first point to this particular line, the first element. And now what I'm expected to do is I'm expected to split them by space. So I'll say line dot split. Split by what? Space. When I do so, what I'm going to get, I'm going to get string of array. I'm going to get a string of array, right? And remember, map will always give you another RDD, right? But I don't want string of array. I don't want this from the map. What I want is, I don't want this outside array. Okay, because if I do this, then what will happen? It gives me string of array. I don't want that. I just want the words. So for that I'll use a flat map. Now when I use a flat map, my result, my result would be RDD of string. This would be my result. Okay, Can you tell me what will be our result type if we just use map instead of flat map? As I said, if you write this as map, then what will happen, you know? Let me copy this. Okay. I'll not write this first. Let me say what's one. Let me first write this. This RDD of string would become RDD of array of string. This would become this. Now see here, it compiled. Okay, it compiled, which means if you write map, then every word, this stuff would be splitted by what? Space. And you get array of string, which means the RDD would be array of string type. If you understand this, you will be able to solve any problem on big data on Spark. If you understand what a method is working on, what kind of data and what is it is going to produce, you have done your job. Okay, so when you say words, you'll get, because of this flat map, all this would now become RDD of words, like this. Okay, done. Now the next thing that you would like to do is you would like to add one as one in each word, and you would like to emit key value pair. So for that you will say well counts one per word, per words, okay, is equal to, now you will use words dot map. I'm going to do a map, that means for every word, for every such word, apple ball and all. So I can say, let me call it word, I can give any name, right? And I'm saying emit me back word and one, emit me back word and one, right? Now can you tell me what would be this type? Will it be RDD of key value pair, string and integer? See here, it has already given you a recommendation here, right? Integer, this would be of that type. Okay, so which means when you do this, after this your line would be like apple 1, okay, and then you'll get for the next one ball 1, again for the next one apple 1, and so on, right? You'll get this for every apple ball, you'll get word 1 word 1 word 1 and so on. Now what is the next thing? The next thing that you should do is group them together and then start counting your ones. That can be done in a single line by saying, I'll use the same name, counts. You'll say well counts is equal to counts one per word dot reduce by key. When you say reduce by key, that means reduce by key means two things. Number one, group your word. So apple, for this apple you will get 1 and 1, all the ones here. If you have more ones, you'll get all ones here. Okay, again for your ball you will get, if there are let's say 10 balls, so you'll get all the value part here. All this 1 or 2 whatever you have written will come up here. And reduce by key says I have grouped this by word. Now what you want me to do with this value part? So you can say the value you can add. You will write like this, underscore plus underscore. That means two parameters. First parameter, second parameter should be added. Again, first whatever result comes with third value should be added. Whatever result comes with fourth value should be added. And because of this, the apple value would become 4. The ball value would become 4. Okay, as per the data set. If your data set has different values, then it will give you the different output of codes. Okay. Now, once you're done with this, you might be interested to check what is the output now. So, which means you can do a collect now. Okay. So, let us go a little up and you can do a collect. So, I'll copy this part again and let me paste it here. Let me paste it here. Okay. So, I'll say counts.collect. So, remember, collect will always give you an array. Okay. So, it will always give you an array. So, I'll say result. Okay. It will always give an array. But this time, it will give you an array of string and integer.
Why? Because apple 4, ball 4, and so on. Okay, and now I'm saying content, and let me print this result. Result.forIs.println. So let us run this program now. So we've executed our program successfully, and if you see, we have got the output like content apple is 7 and ball is 6. Let's go little down, and the program is completed successfully. Okay. Now from our documentation, we are left with only one thing, that is saving the file. Okay. Now for that I'll use these lines. So I'll use file utils, and let me import the class. I'll use Apache Commons IO, and let me also import this. I'll use java.io.file. Okay. Now look into this. I want to save this result, the total result, whatever we have got. Okay. So this result is present in counts. Counts is an RDD. Okay. Counts is an RDD. So let me also surround this counts RDD of string and int. Why? Because it is going to hold me apple 4, ball 5, and so on. So it is RDD of string of integer. Okay, and we are trying to save this file in an output file. What is my output file? My output file is output.txt. Okay, so you can launch your terminal from here also. Okay, so you can launch your terminal by clicking on this. You are in the PowerShell. So let me go to D drive. I'll say ls. PowerShell will support ls, and if I see, we have a data set output.txt data set. So let's go inside this cd data set ls. Okay, we have only two files now. Okay, now let's do this. Let us not put this part, and we'll just say count.save as text file output file, and let's run this code. If you look into this, it says the program executed successfully. That means this part is executed, which means our program is successfully executed without any problem. If there will be any exception, then my line number 36 will never execute. Is not it? And before that, we have save as text file. So let's go and see what is the content. Okay. So if you see this data set, in the data set we have output.txt. Check it out. My output file is dataset output.txt, but that's not a file, that's actually a folder. Inside that you'll see a part files. Okay, you have a part file here. Check it out. We have a part file. Okay, and let me open this part file, and we have apple 7 and ball 6. Okay, so let me try to run this program again. Now when I try to run this program again, our program will fail. Why? It will say the output file already exists. Let's do this. Okay, so the program executed, but with a problem. And what is that problem? Let us see. Okay, so just go a little up and see what is the failure here. And the failure is file already exists exception. So the moment you see that the file already exists exception comes, it is basically because you're trying to write the data into a path that already exists. And since the path already exists, it will throw you that exception. And interestingly, that exception is thrown to you by Apache Hadoop MapRead. Okay, which means internally, do you agree with me that Spark is using the same traditional Apache Hadoop, right? So that is what it is. All right. Now, in some cases, you may say, "Hey Suraj, I want to make sure that the program should never fail. And can I do something like I would point to that path and let us delete that path before even we start writing the data?" Okay, see, till now, when we executed our program, we got the successful output till here. See here, content apple 7 ball 6. Till here there was no issue. The main issue happened here. Why? Because the path already exists. So if you say I want to do like this, I want to first delete the file silently, and then let me write the program. Let me write the data back. So if you want to do that, then you have something called file utils, okay, which has got a method called delete quietly, okay, which can take the path new file output file which means it will delete the output file completely, and hence it would be a fresh writing. If you add this line, then your program will never die. Okay, so let's run this. And now if you try to see the output, it will always delete the file if it already exists, and then it will write the data freshly. Okay, so we have executed this code again by just adding this piece of line, right? And if you see, our process finished with exit code 0, which means it deleted the file, the folder, the output folder, and it executed the job, right? And before just writing the data into the output file, it has actually deleted the file and it has done a fresh write. So this will ensure that the data is deleted and the fresh write will always happen, and you will never get the problem like file already exists exception.